is something that is far more interesting and more criticizable than if it breaks the law or not, and focusing on that. Personally, I don't give a shit, because why would you in terms of illegality? It's way more interesting.
Exactly, like that's what I'm saying. I don't even give a fuck about the legal standards of this. Like, do I think Mutahar is gonna go to jail? Dude, no. It's like, but do I think Mutahar is about to get some severely engineered backlash for lying for a decade? Approved. Like, and I know that's a fact. I mean, again, he did have to shelter out the word. I'm just saying. You already know what it is. You seen telling thumbnail. Ooh boy, Linux. Of course, we're talking about Mutahar once again because apparently one of my glorious slop kings, Slopamule, dropped a video on Mutahar because apparently there's some other junk going on. Apparently Nick Andros had dropped a vid about Mutahar once again. And Slopamule done a got a little slop out for us, so we can't be wasting no more time. We gotta see what the engineer has cooked up for us this time. So, Trilly talks everything. Trilly does indeed have everything every single time. Let's get right into it. Of course, like I said in the intro, shout out to love with Slopamule. We got Mutahar situation just got even worse. Of course, if you guys want to watch the OG video, down in the description. First link, shirt love with Slopamule, and let's get right into the video. No time to waste. Already know how we do. It's already gonna be a yap sesh. Let's get right into it.
I made a mistake in my coverage.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a brand new Slopamule video. I hope you're having a good day, because I certainly have. And in today's video, we're going to be covering some Mutahar updates revolving around Nick Andros. Recently, Nick Andros has released 2 brand new videos on the situation, one a bit more significant that I want to go over than the other, but I do want to cover both of these videos and get into the new details and gossip all to do with Mutahar. If you are new here, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. It helps out the channel so much, and I greatly appreciate it. But without further ado, let's dive into these 2 Nick Andros videos.
Mutahar's initial response to my video was to ban the word engineer from his comments. When that didn't succeed, he stopped uploading for a week and went quiet.
Looks like he didn't engineer that situation too successfully.
On social media.
So at this point, you know, we're about like a week into not crapping, right?
He did private a video which harmful opinions covered in one of his videos, and he wiped an entire channel of podcasts he used to do with his friends.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if it's just me, but to me, that absolutely screams pure innocence. You haven't done anything wrong if you feel the need to go and block the word in your comment section, and then go and run and quickly hide and private a bunch of videos. Like, regardless of your stance on the entire situation, I think it's undeniable that from a moral standpoint,
it's like, yo, at the end of the day, is it like the worst thing ever? Is this whole engineer jump for Mutahar like you know what I'm saying, the biggest shot ever? Is it a nothing burger? Not exactly, because it's still like, yo, credibility, like fraud, like fraudulent, looking crazy. Yeah, but on the overall with this, like specifically, it's like, does it overall destroy John? Not really.
The fact that he would lie actively to his audience for 10 years and then try and hide certain videos in response is scummy and shameful. Why would you believe or trust this individual that's been lying to his audience for 10 years? You wouldn't. You would doubt the large majority of things that he...
And that's what I'm saying, like, it still would affect his credibility. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not the worst show ever, but it does show, like, the patterns of, like, yeah, Mutahar has been lying, you know what I mean? And, like, obviously, to that degree. And I'll talk about it, too, like, especially with the engineer tip and, like, Trevor and Jones with the software and, like, Linux and stuff like that. Heads that are looking to him as, like, you know what I'm saying, this authority, because he was saying for the longest time, yeah, like, he disagreed, he was an engineer. Like, yeah, it ruins the credibility in that sense. It's going to be even harder now to trust Mutahar, especially if you were on this sense with the drama. And now he said he's never going to cover drama multiple times and cover drama again.
He's been saying for that time. People have been saying in my comments and other people's comments that if you are a self-taught engineer or a hobbyist, you can claim to be an engineer, which is simply not the case if you are somebody who's claiming to have gone to a place of education to become an engineer, and then you've been branding yourself as that for 10 years, and even claiming at some point you were a former engineer. You simply don't care.
And that's what I'm saying, like, even with the, like, blocking out, like, the word engineer and all that type of beat, it's, like, not the worst thing ever, but still, it's like, instead it's just coming out clarifying it, and even in Mutahar's response, Bombaclat!
Bombaclat!
Bombaclat! John was even worse, 'cause he was literally like, yo, I don't give a fuck. But even with that, John, like, yo, he should have just did the response John first instead of just, like, doing that, John, like, blocking out the word engineer and, like, taking them Johns down, because it only makes him look more guilty and more, like, fraudulent. Like, why are you taking this down? Is the Johns not true? Are you not an engineer?
about the Mutahar drama, that's your prerogative. Who genuinely cares at the end of the day if somebody doesn't care about a drama? But ultimately, there is no excusing this action when somebody's been lying for a decade.
There's plenty more material to cover in my bigger video, but let me tell you this. Mutahar was notified about this stuff in a confrontation almost exactly a year ago. What action did he take? Nothing. Because if the truth came out, he would look bad for being so close to Nakstaku. This guy's sitting here telling you that the government needs to stay away from the internet. It's so horrible when people are forced to verify their age on social media. I know it's annoying. I know it's frustrating. And I know it can be used for information control, mass manipulation,
It's a Trojan horse.
censorship, blah blah blah, but I've seen what it looks like when these man-children self-regulate, what it looks like when they are holding each other accountable. And what I mean by that is that they don't. They are 100% willing to prioritize their career, income, and their ego over the safety of children on the platform. But that's a story for the bigger video.
Not TikTok. Roblox.
This big Nick Andrews video is something that he spoke a little bit about when he came on my podcast, Trash Talk. We had an interaction about it, and I'm genuinely looking forward to seeing this video. And hopefully, like this video has with, the whole engineer stuff and Mutahar being a big, giant, fat liar, I really do hope that this giant video on Mutahar and Nunkstaku kind of open people's eyes a little bit, especially for Nunkstaku's newer audience, and the same for Mutahar. But now onto Nick Andrews' most recent, and what I consider the more significant one of these two videos.
Welcome, I'm Nick Andrews. If you've seen my video, Mutahar's been a fake engineer for 10 years, you probably walked away with the conclusion that he's been claiming to be all different kinds of engineer based on computer work he did in high school. All of that is true. He has presented himself as an engineer on his channel dozens of times, but on his live streams and
he's a software engineer, a cybersecurity engineer, a video engineer. Hey man, he's been in the field for quite a while. He's got quite the experience, let me tell you.
podcasts, which not all of his main audience will see, he has admitted to being a dropout, that he hasn't been an engineer in years or eons.
Ooh. Not good. Muta. Now let me stop playing, because again, we didn't see his response and all that type of beat. But again, this is the thing I wanted to keep reinforcing, is that this is over the course of 10 years he was perpetuating this lie. At what point? Not even at what point, because there were so many points, but for him, he could have cleared this up at so many points. It's like, yo, this is only the karma. Again, what's the point of lying? Just be genuine to your audience.
But he was still presenting himself as an engineer in the present tense, giving the false impression that he is currently an engineer. He's since apologized and stated he's not an engineer, and he didn't even state in his defense that one of his job titles contained the word engineer at one point, so it is true that he's been a fake engineer for 10 years. However, I made a mistake in my coverage.
This is always the best move to go with when you make a mistake in your coverage. Not to avoid it, not to hide it, to make a post of some type. If that's a video, a community tab, a tweet, whatever it may be, to clarify that you've made a mistake.
I was literally just about to say that too. I'm like, yeah, obviously clarifying, you know what I'm saying, the information that, was misrepresented, was the misinfo that was spread, which in this case for Mutahar was being an engineer. Yo, and this is why I just got off of saying, yo, at so many points, he could have just said, oh yeah, nah, I was just bullshitting around, trying to big myself up, trying to, seem cooler than I was or whatever. But realistically, yo, I don't have this cred or whatever. I don't have this degree. I'm not actually an engineer. I'm just really passionate about all these different things or whatever. And yo, obviously still there would be some bleed. I could be saying all the time, avocado. Law City syndrome, or Law City equation, more or less, in this channel. Yeah, there's going to be some bleed, but still, I'm sure even heads before would, not really be as pressed. But now, again, 10 years, yo, you build up all this audience. A lot of these heads are now going around thinking you have such credibility. Yeah, the bleed's going to hit even more. And again, like I just came up with saying too, yo, off the back of all the other dramas Mutahar's been included in. Not good.
In your coverage. In a similar vein to what Harmful Opinions did. An audience member respects this 10 times more than you trying to avoid and lie about it. Just transparency is key here. Also kind of want to put emphasis on the fact that it very much as well comes down to what mistake you've made, the response you've chosen to take, and how you come across there. If you're somebody like Mutahar who's lied for 10 years and then your response is basically to hide a bunch of videos that are being critiqued, then possibly hiding comments that mention you being an engineer, and then on top of that, bury your response in the middle of a video where you come across like you don't care after lying to your audience for 10 years actively, then yeah, nobody's gonna give a shit about your transparency because you've lied for 10 years and you've done all of that and you come across like you don't care. But if someone genuinely does come across...
And that's what I was saying, yeah, his response, and I just don't give a fuck. Again, like a nut. Definitely stepped on a couple rakes.
Like they care, like harmful opinions, or puts the effort in, and is just incredibly transparent and honest with the audience, then yeah, that's going to reciprocate pretty well.
I claimed that Mutahar calling himself an engineer was illegal, or that it could be illegal.
Now, I do want to give the disclaimer that I'm not a lawyer or a Canadian. I'm just a guy who looks stuff up online, and based on what I've read,
And that's all I was even saying, like, during the John, like, whether or not this boy is illegal, it's, like, honestly irrelevant. Which, he sounds crazy, but, like, you know what I mean? More or less in a sense of, like, yeah, we're not lawyers. Like, yeah, this is the John we say all the time. This is why we go to your legal mindsets or your lusts, you know what I'm saying? Even to then, you gotta still take what they're saying with a grain of salt, because still, like, YouTube, yada yada, all this type of be, like, you know what I'm saying, not directly, like, on the court case, especially, like, in these fields directly, like, on, like, specific Johns. So it's like, yeah, but what you can still take from this is that all, I can't even formulate my own thoughts or whatever. Truly the dumbass, as you can see. What you can still take from this is obviously still Mutahar over the past 10 years was still lying about having these credentials when not even in no relative fashion, even whether it being illegal to, like, say, a professional engineer in Canada or whatever, or wherever it may be, maybe this certain region of Canada, whatever, or not. Like, he still lied about this, John, which obviously, like I said, it could ruin his credibility and obviously makes him look more fraudulent. Like, that is still the main, like, prevalent John. So this wasn't even a matter. Like, this is like, again, if a lawyer goes through this, John, it says like, oh yeah, Mutahar, yada yada, could be potentially breaking some John here, then I guess we'll take him more relative serious. But this is not even the main John. The main John is that, yeah, Mutahar, we need you to stop lying, bruv.
it's actually illegal to call yourself an engineer if you are not a licensed engineer.
In a later part of the video, I made the same claim without actually couching it.
At least Pirate Software's lies didn't break the law.
But then I couched it again.
Once again, I am not a lawyer. It might not be illegal for Mutahar to lie about being an engineer.
I think I speak for a large majority of people that watch the Nick Andrews video when I say that the whole legal argument against Mutahar for this fake engineer claim was something that was incredibly weak and really didn't appeal to most.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, when it comes to some of the legal Johns with, like, dramas and like, slopped and, like, teased and stuff like that, unless it's, like, something where we can all clearly see, yeah, this is, like, probably against the law, or, like, just directly is against the law, it's like, yeah, you got to be taking the Johns with a grain of salt, because usually it's, like, not really that heftily substantiated on the factor of it being most definitely, like, illegal. That, like, again, that's what I'm saying. It wasn't even the main John. The main John is that Mutahar has been lying for the past decade.
People. The argument that Mutahar has lied to his audience actively for 10 years about something like that and boasted it to push his coverage and make him more respectable,
Yeah, it's a way stronger argument.
well, is something that is far more interesting and more criticizable than if it breaks the law or not, and focusing on that. Personally, I don't give a shit, because why would you in terms of illegality? It's way more interesting.
Exactly, like, that's what I'm saying. I don't even give a fuck about the legal standards of this. Like, do I think Mutahar is gonna go to fucking jail? Dude, no. It's like, but do I think Mutahar is about to get some severely engineered backlash for lying for a decade? Approved. Like, and I know that's a fact. I mean, again, he did have to shelter out the word. I'm just saying. Just saying.
From a moral standpoint and a moral argument when he's been actively lying for 10 years.
Harmful Opinions got sick of this uncertainty, and he followed the guidelines of Professional Engineers Ontario, which instructs people to report anyone claiming to be an engineer if their name doesn't appear in their public database. He has received back a response from the PEO and then sent the email to me. It reads as follows. Thank you for your email. We have completed our investigation regarding Mr. Renas's use of the title engineer. It is our opinion that the evidence provided to us does not constitute a violation of Ontario law.
Also, I believe that Nick Andrews' video is a good
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's not illegal.
video. I think that it does its job amazingly well and has opened a big conversation on Mutahar. I do think this is a weakness for the video and something that people now especially can use against it. All we have to say now is, well, he claimed that this was possibly illegal when it's not. Mutahar didn't break the law. Fortunately, this already weak argument has kind of given ammunition to people who want to be disingenuous when it comes to Nick Andrews' video and disingenuous when it comes to protecting Mutahar.
The text of the relevant provision of our statute reads,
But yeah, like, I don't know. I guess, like, you could say biasly, but again, I'm looking at this, like, in the most objective standards. Like, yeah, this is a claim he made, which, this is the same thing for my opinions. If you want to, like, say, in this case, Law City Syndrome, that, Nick Andros deserves, like, a bleed for this, like, obviously deserved maybe some backlash and all that type of beat. Sure. I mean, like, That's your prerogative to be like, okay, well, yeah, he's not as trustworthy anymore and all that type of beat. But again, him coming out to clarify this makes it even more, at least for me personally, like, more willing to trust him. Because, yeah, you're willing to clarify the mistakes you made. When a lot of heads, especially like Hassan, and even I was saying this in one of the other Mutahar vids, are not doing that, taking accountability. Hell fucking hilarious. So like, yeah, it's good to see that heads are doing this, John. But even still to that, like we just came off of saying, this argument was already relatively weak in the initial Johns. Like bro, we weren't really taking the part of this being illegal, Mutahar's gonna go to jail or some shit or get fined, or like, bro, heads really weren't thinking this shit. The main John, once more, I'll keep snapping in, is the factor of Mutahar's credibility and looking fraudulent because he's been lying for quite literally the past 10 years. Like, that's the main John. So like, this is like not even some John that like someone like me and even Sloppy Mule was saying earlier is like taken serious. This wasn't really the main argument.
Every person who is not a holder of a license,
or better yet, to even that, like, yeah, this wasn't even like the stronger argument. Like, this was the way weaker argument.
Or a temporary license, and who uses the title engineer or an abbreviation of that title in a manner that will lead to the belief that the person may engage in the practice of professional engineering is guilty of an offense. As such, the mere use of the title does not create an offense. An important consideration is whether or not the use of the title can clearly be attached to the province of Ontario. Although Mr. Anas is a resident of Ontario, none of his videos directly attach his use of the title to the province. If we were to interpret the statute otherwise, any person who called themselves an engineer on YouTube could be liable to prosecution under Ontario law, and that appears to be an absurd result. There is also American law, Jarlstrom v. Oregon State Board of Examiners for Engineering and Land Surveying, which held that applying title protection statutes solely to challenge protected speech is a violation of the First Amendment and would likely be a violation of S2 of the Charter. Finally, we do not believe there is any public interest in pursuing this matter.
Honestly, like, yeah, how many heads want to see, again, Mutahar go to jail for this shit? Like, dude, nobody cares that much.
There does not appear to have been any intention on Mr. Anas's part to mislead anyone about his Ontario license status.
Now, that is definitely arguable.
When they're saying that, and hopefully when they're saying that they're referring to the Ontario license status rather.
Yeah, because if they are talking about overall broadly, like, people like Mutahar, yeah, I'm saying it right. Mutahar wanting to convince people that he's an engineer, then that's just completely false. Because yeah, his intention most definitely for the past 10 years were to convince people that he's an engineer. Because then we go back on the standard of like, okay, let's say Nick Andros harmful opinions and people weren't making videos on Mutahar calling him out for this. Was he going to clarify this? The answer is no. So it's like,
than just in general. Because ultimately, for the last 10 years, Mutahar actively misled people into believing that he was some type of engineer and actively claimed that. He was actively misleading his audience to bolster his credentials and make himself seem more important.
And he has already apologized for the confusion. As such, we have closed our investigation in this matter.
Apologize? I mean, I guess. I mean, he really basically just said, again, he doesn't give a fuck, so,
So the key element that would have made Mutahar's use of the term illegal would have been to attach his engineering status to the province of Ontario. So, saying, I'm a fucking computer engineer, I don't care, is not illegal. If he said, I'm a fucking computer engineer in Ontario, I don't care, supposedly that would have been illegal. So, I obviously made a mistake by saying what Mutahar did could have been, or...
I feel like even that shaky, I feel like, I guess in this case, what would be like, again, this is like my interpretation. I am not a fucking lawyer, none of that shit. But what I would interpret, like, there is illegal, is if he was saying he's specifically working on some John in the province of Ontario or whatever, or maybe like just somewhere in general or whatever, and he was saying that he was doing this under direct licensing from Ontario's, you know what I'm saying, like engineering board or whatever type of jazz, and he was working on some type of project saying that he has a license from them doing it illegally, then that would, like, yeah, that would be generally because he's participating in an illegal act with false licensing because he doesn't actually have that, John. But yeah, he's just broadly saying he's an engineer and he lives in Ontario. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, this boy is a weak argument, you know what I mean?
Was illegal, and I apologize to Mutahar, and I also apologize to you, the audience, for misleading you about the facts.
I mean, ultimately, this doesn't change the actual core argument that Mutahar lied for 10 years.
And exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like, this shit was, again, the weakest argument, kept saying that. That is the strong argument, the strongest argument, because this is the main John.
Because he actively did, and this is something that he admitted. It just changes this legal argument that I and many other people weren't really focusing on in the first place. But I'm glad that clarification was made here, but ultimately this can be weaponized against Nick Andros and used for the defense of Mutahar. Ladies and gentlemen, that's all I wanted to cover in terms of Mutahar and Nick Andros today.
No, because this isn't the only drama that Mutahar has been in where he's acted on, let's be honest here, fraudulent timing.
If you did enjoy, please consider liking and subscribing, and I highly recommend that you go and check out those two videos. But what were your thoughts on all of this? Please feel free to comment down below. But I've been your host, Samuel, and I will catch you in the next Slop Mule video. Goodbye.
Yeah. already know, baby. Of course, shout out to one of my glorious slap kings. Sloppy Mule. Extra, baby. We got a Mutahar situation just got even worse. Of course, if you guys would like to watch the OG video, down in the description. First link, sure to love it. Of course, Sloppy Mule. And final opinions and conjecture. Yeah, it's just more or less the same thing kind of we were saying with the harmful opinions, Sean. Like, yeah, Nick Andros like got this legal part wrong, saying that like, yeah, this could potentially get Mutahar into some legal trouble, but this wasn't even the strong main argument being presented in the first place. The whole main argument was, of course, that he'd been lying for the past decade about being an engineer and having, you know what I'm saying, all these, like, you know what I'm saying, having a degree and saying he's at all these different engineering positions and all that type of beat, right? The factor of like Mutahar potentially getting in trouble legally and going to jail, like I said, or getting fined, bro, like that John was dead. No one thought that was happening, but heads did think, yeah, Mutahar, we're going to be calling you out for again lying and being on fraudulent, being on non-credible, like not good credibility, just type of timing. It's bad beats, not good work, Swagwan. Bomboclat, bunda, bomboclat. Not good, Mutahar. I ain't gonna lie. Ooh, boy. The creds ain't looking too hot. But yeah, of course, again, shout out to love with Sloppy Mule. And I'll be catching y'all on the flip, baby. Peace.